All right, if you're a project manager, you know this whole dance. You've spent weeks, maybe months, building the perfect project schedule. Everything looks great until you look at your resource usage. It's all over the place. So what do? You dive into your scheduling software, find that little magic button that says Level Resources, and you click it. Boom. Problem solved, right? Well, have you ever actually stopped to wonder what the software is doing in that moment? Let's pull back the curtain, because what's happening is probably not what you think.
So, let's set the scene. Every single project manager out there is dreaming of this perfectly smooth, super efficient plan. But the reality? It's almost always what I like to call the resource roller coaster.
I mean, does this look familiar to you? Yeah, this is it. The resource roller coaster in all its glory. One week you need 50 people. The next week you need 250. And then bam, you're back down to a skeleton crew. It is a total logistical nightmare, full of these massive peaks and really deep valleys. And look, that roller coaster isn't just messy to look at on a chart. It is incredibly expensive. It leads to all sorts of inefficiency, not to mention the insane cost of constantly hiring and laying people off. And all of that, it just injects a ton of risk right into your project's timeline and, of course, its budget. So, to fix this mess, the industry has a go-to solution. It's called resource leveling, and it comes with this big promise to flatten that crazy roller coaster into a much more predictable, much more manageable hill. Now, we need to be really clear about something here. For this explainer, we are talking specifically about resource leveling, which is totally different from resource allocation. See, allocation might actually push your project's end date out to deal with resource limits, but leveling? No. Leveling works within your fixed project duration. Its only job is to smooth out how you use your people over that period of time.
And this is where that magic button comes in. These incredibly powerful software tools like Primavera P6 have this feature built right in. You click it, and it automatically starts shifting your non-critical tasks around, using their available float, all in an attempt to smooth out that resource demand. I mean, it seems so simple, right? But here's where things get really interesting, because that one simple click is actually hiding a huge amount of complexity. What does a leveled or a best schedule? What does that even mean?
This is the absolute key to the whole thing. When you tell that software, hey, level my resources, what is its number one goal? What's the specific mathematical target it's trying to hit? Because as you're about to see, there isn't just one right answer, not even close. This quote from a 2014 study pretty much nails it. It says there's no consensus on what a leveled schedule even is. The software has to aim for some kind of goal, but the goal itself is completely up for debate. Okay, here's an easy way to think about it. Imagine you're asking your GPS for the best route to drive across the country. What do you mean by best? The fastest? The one that avoids tolls? The most scenic route through the mountains? Right? Each of those goals, shortest time, lowest cost, best views, is going to give you a completely different map. Well, resource leveling is exactly the same deal. And the fancy technical term for that goal is the objective function. It's just the specific mathematical formula that the algorithm is trying to optimize. And the choice of that function, well, it fundamentally changes the schedule you get at the end. So the researchers we're looking at didn't just find one or two of these so-called objective functions. Oh no. When they dug into all the academic literature, they found, get this, 9 different ways that people have tried to define an optimal leveled schedule. 9 different mathematical paths to a destination we all thought was the same. And to see if this was just, some theoretical academic debate, they did something really smart. They applied all 9 of these objective functions to a real-world project, the construction of a steel-framed industrial building. They took that one project and leveled it 9 separate times, each time telling the algorithm to chase a different definition of best. So let's look at just 3 of those 9 to see how wildly different they are. Function 4, its only goal is to knock down the single highest peak of resource usage. That's perfect if you have a hard cap, like you can't have more than 300 people on site, period. Then there's function 2. It focuses on minimizing the increases in staff from one day to the next, which is awesome if you want to avoid those expensive hiring surges. And then function 8, it aims for the smoothest possible workflow by minimizing any change, up or down. You're just trying to create the most stable workforce you can. So, okay, 3 different goals. But do they actually give you noticeably different results? I mean, does it really truly matter which objective function your software is using? Well, let's take a look at the pictures because they tell the whole story. Okay, on the left, you see the original schedule, that classic roller coaster with a huge peak of 348 workers. Now, look at the right. This is the result from objective function 4, the one that only cared about lowering that peak. And hey, it worked. The new max is down to 314. But look at the rest of the graph. It's still all over the place, super jagged. Now compare that to the result from objective function 8, the one that was aiming for the smoothest workflow. Whoa, the chart looks completely different, doesn't it? It basically ignored that one highest peak and instead focused on crushing the day-to-day volatility. The result is a visibly smoother, way more consistent use of your team. You see, 2 different goals, 2 radically different schedules. So, which one was actually best? Well, in this particular case study, the researchers found that function 8, the one that focused on smoothness, delivered the best overall results. It improved performance across all their metrics by an average of 35%. Okay, this all brings us to the most important part of this whole thing. What does all this mean for you, the person who's actually out there managing a real project? Here are the big takeaways. Number 1, optimal is completely relative. It all depends on what your project needs. Number 2, the default leveling setting in your software, it might be aiming for a goal that doesn't actually help you. And finally, the really great project managers, they don't just click the button. They understand what they are asking the algorithm to do for them. So here's the bottom line. The goal is not just to click the level button and walk away. The goal is to understand the strategy behind that click. Are you trying to stay under a hard resource cap? Are you trying to avoid hiring sprees? Or are you trying to create the most stable, day-to-day work environment? You have to define the strategy, not just blindly accept whatever the software's default is. So I'm going to leave you with this question. The next time you're staring down one of those resource roller coasters, don't just ask, how do I level this? Ask yourself, what does the best leveled schedule truly look like for this specific project? Because your answer to that question might just change everything.
This whole approach, this idea of streamlining project governance, is really inspired by the fantastic work of engineer Ziad Al-basir. If you're looking to put these powerful EPPM solutions into practice and build your own digital command center, his firm, ZALBASIR EPPM, is who you want to talk to. You can reach them at their email, info@zalbasireppm.com, or on WhatsApp. Thanks so much for watching.